We are standing on the mountain of Gerizim, south of the ancient site of Nablus, Shchem. To the north, we can see Mount Eval. Shchem, Nablus, is located in the valley between Gerizim to the south and Eval to the north. Here in this site took place the ceremony of the blessing and the curse. 6 tribes stood on the slopes of Mount Gerizim to the south. 6 tribes stood on the slopes of Mount Eval to the north. And in the valley stood the Levites, the priests, and they expressed, they delivered to the people, to 6 tribes, they delivered the blessing, and to 6 tribes, they delivered the curse. Of course, the meaning is not that 6 tribes are cursed, but it was a ceremony which was meant to symbolize the principle that if the people of Israel acts according to the word of God, to the law of God, the people of Israel will get the blessing. And if, God forbid, the people of Israel does not behave according to the word of God, to the Torah, the people of Israel will get curse, will not be blessed. This was the purpose of the ceremony. And Joshua was ordered to carry out this ceremony in the last days of Moses. It is written in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 27, verse 11, and Moses charged the people the same day, saying, "These shall stand upon Mount Gerizim to bless the people. When you are come over the Jordan River, Shimon and Levi and Yehuda and Issachar and Yosef and Benjamin, and these shall stand on Mount Eval to curse, Reuven, Gad, Asher, Zebulun, Dan, and Naphtali. And the Levites shall speak and say to all the men of Israel with a loud voice." And here come the blessings and the curses. Now the question is, why did Moses command Joshua to take the people from Jericho in the Jordan Valley all the way to the north along the Jordan River, and then to the west through Wadi Farah, Nachal Tirza, and then climb the mountains of Nablus of Shchem? This way could take weeks or even months for a nation of 2 million people. Why take all the people to Nablus from Jericho instead of doing it there in Jericho? When we look down to the valley, we can understand, we can have the answer to this question. This is the only valley in Israel, big, long, narrow valley, surrounded by 2 mountains, Gerizim to the south and Eval to the north. If someone stands in the valley and speaks loudly, he can be heard. His echo can be heard throughout the whole area, the whole space. It's a natural, this is the biggest natural amphitheater in Israel. Natural. You don't need here any amplifiers, any microphones. You don't need anything any technique other than the human natural voice. And the Torah, the Bible, describes this ceremony as follows. The Levites stood in the valley. Thousands of Levites, imagine thousands of Levites and priests standing in the valley. And all the people, 10 tribes, about 1 million people, stood on the slopes of Mount Ebal, and about 1 million people, 6 tribes, stood on the slopes of Mount Gerizim. Then the Levites spoke to one half with the blessings, and then to the other half with the curses. They could be heard because the valley surrounded by these 2 mountains is a natural amphitheater in which the echo is so strong that you don't really need thousands of people standing in the valley. You just need 100 people, not more than that, in order to be heard in all the area of Nablus. And indeed, this is what happened later, hundreds of years later, in the time of the judges. The son of Gideon, Yotam, he stood on Mount Gerizim and spoke to the people in Nablus. And he was heard, because when you stand in a natural amphitheater, even one person can be heard. So hundreds or thousands of Levites in the valley could be easily heard all around by 2 million people. And that ceremony was so impressive, was so strong. The impact of that ceremony gave the Jewish people, the people of Israel, gave the faith, gave the values, gave the commitment to the Torah and to the faith in God, which enabled them to go to the war with the Canaanites and win. This is what happened in the time of Joshua. And this is exactly what is necessary for our generation in order to continue the war and to win the war and to win the land of Israel as God promised us. We need the connection to Torah and the commitment to the faith in God.